If I were starting over and building a well run home from scratch, I would do it very differently than I did before. I remembered that I would move furniture and be totally embarrassed by the filth that was underneath it. Things just simply had to get gross enough that I couldn't have guests over before I would do anything. I was simply reacting all day long and still ending the day behind. What I found is that a well run home isn't built by just doing more. Much of it comes down to two mindset shifts and three practical things that have made a world of difference in our home. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly where to start so that your home becomes something that you can confidently and cheerfully manage to the glory of God without the burnout. So, as usual, I will get very practical in a couple of minutes. But first, I want to talk about the mindset piece because there are two shifts that I had to make before any system actually worked long term. And the first one reframed everything about how I see this work because the way that we think about it can actually work against us. I know it did for me. In hindsight, I walked into managing our home in a very reactive way. I just saw what had to be done and then I did it then sometimes. And when you're staring at a to do list and you're operating that way with everything on that list, the temptation is to treat it all as if it's equal. You're just trying to get through it all begrudgingly, like there's a finish line that you might eventually reach. And then you get frustrated because a to do list is endless. That is just the nature of it. But here's what I know now. The home that God's given me is my corner of the earth to subdue and to steward, to take dominion over and to bring order out of chaos because I'm made in his image and that's what he did. And so being faithful in that work and every little thing it entails, it pleases him. This is not meaningless work, even in its menial nature at times. We get to steward a home for the glory of God, a place that is warm and hospitable and a joy to live in, a home that nurtures the very souls and bodies of our family and those who come in. And that shapes human beings. So it is so very significant. So before you get back to that work, or maybe you're doing it right now while you're listening, just remember this. Culture treats the home like it's second class, and that is simply not true. There is a beautiful C.S. Lewis quote that actually captures this better than I ever could. He said, I think I can understand that feeling about a housewife's work being like that of Sisyphus, but it is surely, in reality, the most important work in the world. What do ships, railways, mines, cars, government, etc., exist except for that people may be fed, warmed, and safe in their own homes? So your job is the one for which all others exist. So remember that because it's true. And that mindset shift really does impact how you view the home and your good work inside of it. The second mindset shift is actually the one that I wish I had had years earlier. It is the one that has given me the most day to day relief, honestly. And it's something that I picked up just a couple of years ago. I used to get so frustrated because I would clean the floors and then inevitably somebody would walk through them with dirty feet 30 minutes later. But then when I read, and so that just, it made it feel like my work was meaningless. Like they didn't really care. And why am I doing this anyway? It would just be very frustrating. But then I read something in Misty Winkler's book. It's called Simplified Organization. It's a great book. You should read it. But it was just so helpful. And I'm going to butcher this exact wording here, but she talked about resetting the home, kind of like resetting a computer. When you reset a computer, you are rebooting it. Maybe it's getting laggy and um, not really working very well. And so what do? You just restart the computer so that it can be used for the work that you actually need to do. So when we think about the home that way, when we clean the bathrooms, when we mop the floors, we're not completing a finished task. That's not the end goal. We're resetting it. We're rebooting it for life. And that mental shift for me was just such a helpful reframe. It took the pressure off of trying to keep everything pristine because where there are no oxen, the stable is clean, but we've got a lot of oxen in this house. We've got a lot of kids. We got 6 of them. And so it's not going to stay clean. It's going to be lived in. And sure, we want to maintain it. We want to keep it tidy and be good stewards of it. But it's not supposed to stay perfectly pristine like a home and goods, whatever, a magazine. It's a lived in home. So remember, the home is for the people. The whole point is for the people. We are cleaning and stewarding and maintaining it for them. And speaking of building a home that actually works for real life, I have a free masterclass that I think you're going to love. It's about 20 minutes long and it walks you through how to structure and manage your home in a realistic way that is actually built for your season in your life. I'll link it down below. Go grab it. It's completely free, and I think it'll be really helpful alongside everything that we're talking about today. Okay, so let's get to the practical because you know that I like practical. There are three things here. The first one is the thing that actually kept me from burning out every time that I tried to build a system. The first thing that I would tell my younger self, and honestly, the thing that has made the biggest difference for me, even to this day, is to be realistic about your season of life. Early on, I didn't maintain the home well because I didn't know where to start. And when I did start building, I tried to do too much. And that stressed me out just as much as the chaos did. So ask yourself, what season am I actually in right now? Newborn season looks different than having a house full of littles. A house full of littles looks different than having older children who can help a lot. Chronic illness looks different than having a relatively healthy season. So, what is actually realistic right now? That is just a very important and foundational part of managing a home in a way that both blesses your home and doesn't burn you out. And to that point, being realistic also means you've got to think through how to keep the home running in the season that you're in, on good days and on hard days. Across the board, no matter what season, I would say it's important and it's prudent to think through what the floor is in your home. And this is going to be different for everyone. But in other words, what I mean by that, the floor is a bare minimum version of a daily routine. That is small and realistic enough to use when life gets challenging. So, as an example, what do you have to do to get dinner on the table, clothes on people's backs, a room or so reasonably tidy, and take care of basic hygiene? Getting specific about this and having something like this to keep your home running well despite the season is so important because you can scale up when life settles. You can always refine and build or improve things as you go. But having a very realistic and basic foundation is so crucial to running the home in every season. So many miss this and just simply spiral in tough weeks or months, and then they and their homes suffer for it. However, from what I found, building something small, focused, and realistic is actually what lasts and can make a world of difference in the home, no matter the season that you're in. But without this next piece, what you build from here won't really reflect what you deep down desire. So we're going to get into that part next. By the way, if we haven't met yet, I'm Lauren. I'm a homeschooling mom of six, and this channel is all about building fruitful, life giving homes through simple, God honoring rhythms. If that sounds like something you need, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss my videos. Once you know your season and you've gotten some of the basics taken care of, there's a second thing that is crucial to building a well run home without burning out and giving some very motivating and often inspiring perspective. And that is to get very clear on your priorities. And this is where Titus 2 is actually really helpful at helping us understand why this is a big part of managing the home and stewarding it well. Titus 2 lists loving your husband and your children before it lists learning how to manage the home. And that order listed in scripture is written in that way and in that order for a reason. And this is why that last mindset shift that I talked about earlier, it matters so much practically. The home is for the people. We never want to manage the home at the expense of the relationships inside of it. So, I would say, as you think about how to manage all the moving pieces of the home so that it runs more smoothly, it's so important to keep everything in perspective and to remember that managing the home includes multiple different spheres. So, you've got your marriage, you've got your relationship with your children, you've got your health, the matters of the home and taking care of those things. You've got relationships and hospitality, finances, you name it, etc. There are many elements of the home to think through, and it's important to get clear on what your vision and your goals are for each of these spheres and what are the practical things that you can do in the days and the weeks that would reflect your priorities and stewarding those things well to the glory of God. And by the way, I would never recommend trying to dial in everything at once or implement a bunch of new rhythms and habits to get all those things in your rhythms and habits all at once. That, if that makes sense, hopefully I said that clear enough. Um, don't do it all at once. That really is something that is meant to happen over the course of time, especially if you want it to stick. But getting clear about those things can give really great perspective to why you do what you do every day and give you something to aim towards as you think about building out your days and your weeks over the course of time. And here's something that I really would encourage you to do if you're married. Think through this with your husband. This is the home that you are building together. So it is very good and wise to get on the same page about this. So, for my husband, Jeremy, and I, this has been such a fruitful topic of discussion. We've gotten clear on our priorities and what our vision for family is. And we have come back to it over time again and again to recalibrate when our priorities fall out of line and just to refine things as we go. So, it's reorienting and it's helpful to get clear on those relational and household priorities to keep you on track and keep you aligned. So when you've named what actually needs your attention and what's important to your family, it's much less tempting to respond to what seems urgent. And it's so much easier to focus on what's important to you guys. But without this final piece, those conversations stay only a dream. So once you know your season and you know your priorities, the third thing is putting those priorities into a predetermined system. And this is where it starts to get really good. Building rhythms is really just about making decisions ahead of time. What goes where and when. You're not creating a list of things to plow through in a day and make sure you get through it. You're just making some decisions about what's important and what the focus needs to be so that when you walk into the day, you already know what needs to happen and you just move through it. You're not scrambling, we're not anxiously clinging to a list. You've already thought through what needs to happen. And this part just simply relieves a lot of angst and decision fatigue. So I break this down into daily rhythms and weekly rhythms. Daily rhythms are the things that need to happen every single day. So, for example, in our home, we've got a daily laundry rotation, we've got meals, kitchen resets after every meal, homeschool, etc. So you list out what needs to happen in your home, and then you anchor those things, anchor those tasks or rhythms to things that already happen in your day without thinking. So for me, those anchor points are usually sleep times and meal times because everyone sleeps and everyone eats. So I think through what all needs to happen in the day based on what's important to us. And then I attach those things onto one of those anchor points, usually. So, for example, I like to break up dinner prep throughout the day. And so first thing after breakfast, I'll pull out meat out of the freezer to thaw. And then after lunch, while the kids are cleaning up, I'll do some dinner prep. That's it. And then I assemble closer to dinner time. So when I do that, it's anchored and it gets done. That is an example of some daily rhythms. As for weekly rhythms, those cover everything that doesn't need to happen every day. So bathrooms, dusting, bills, deeper cleaning, I assign those things to specific days and I call them theme days. And I've got a whole video on how to build those out. I'll link it down below. But here's the part that I love most about this. If you don't get it done today, it's always going to cycle back tomorrow, next week, it comes back around. So you rarely feel behind. It's very freeing. It leaves room for life to happen. So at this point, I don't move furniture and feel that embarrassed anymore. Not because everything is perfect. It's most certainly not, but because I'm not reacting anymore. There is a rhythm and it fits where we actually are as a family. And that's really what you're building here. It's something that fits your real season, your real family, and a home that you're actually taking care of in a realistic way while prioritizing the people inside of it. It's a lot more peaceful to live in than one that you're constantly trying to catch up with. So, if you want help putting all of this together, again, don't forget to check out that free masterclass that's linked down below. It's about 20 minutes, so go grab it and enjoy it. Thank you so much for being here today, and I'll see you in the next one.